want to. My daughter's back there eating. Hey, Mocha family. I am a Mocha mom and I am back. I wanted to record this update on intermittent fasting on my beautiful deck for you guys so you can have a better view than my car, but then it really wouldn't be what my life is right now. I spend a lot of my time in the car shuttling us from to our various activities and back, and I'm coming back from teaching now and heading in to finish the rest of my homeschool day. And so I decided to do it like this rather than not to do it at all, because I know I followed people in the past and they've reported something that's really working for them, and then you never hear about it again, and you kind of wonder if they ended up dropping it or they learned something that made them stop doing it that would be helpful to you. So that's why I wanted to come back and do this update, because it's been at least 2 years, if not more, since I've been consistently practicing intermittent fasting. And I had someone say to me that they were doing intermittent fasting without even knowing it, and it's probably true for that person. But I watched another video where someone clarified that intermittent fasting is not just not eating, like when you're in the fasted part where you're during the time when you're not eating outside of your eating window, you can still break your fast with things like candy and gum and consuming a beverage, like you had coffee, you put some cream in it thinking that you're still fasting, but you didn't eat a meal technically, but you broke your fast, because there's like a minimum a minimal caloric intake that you can ingest before it pulls your body out of that fasted state where it's working to rebuild, which is what I want. And so it's been 2 years that I've been sustaining this routine, and I just wanted to share some things that I've learned, what's the same and what's different. So what continues to be the same for me is I've noticed that my gut has healed to a great degree. Like I've maintained this diet. I've also, gotten a lot of prayer concerning my food sensitivities that I've struggled with. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link videos. I've talked at length about this, so I'm not going to repeat it in this video. But I believe that God has done a lot toward completely healing me of a lot of these food sensitivities. But for me at this point, it's not necessarily trying to avoid an allergic reaction, but it's trying to really, choose foods that will help me to perform optimally for this crazy busy life that I'm living. And so a lot of the foods that I can safely eat now, I choose not to eat on the regular, just because I like the way my body performs better when I'm eating lower amounts of carbs. And I try to avoid what I'll call the cheaper versions of carbs that are out there for us to eat. Like, as much as I love bread, I try to avoid bread, and I treat it more like a treat. And so I continue to eat a low grain diet. I continue to do 2 meals. I know a lot of people, as they do intermittent fasting, they progress to 1 meal. I don't have that much fat on my body, and so I don't want to lose any more fat on my body, if that makes any sense. I kind of like the way I look right now. I don't want to get any smaller. I do know that your weight does plateau. You don't just continue to lose weight, incessantly. But I don't want to get any smaller than I am. And I know if I drop down to 1 meal that I'll get smaller than this. And so that's why I've decided to maintain 2 meals, even though I think I could probably do 1 meal. Socially though, I think 1 meal would be also even more challenging, because I find it socially to be challenging with just the 2 meals, because unlike a lot of people who tend to do the 8-hour window that starts at lunchtime or right after lunch, for me, it seems to work better for me if I eat my first meal like around 10 o'clock. and then have my second meal like around 3 o'clock. So that means that I'm not eating the dinner meal with my family. I tend to still hang around the vicinity, but I'm not technically eating with them, and at times I miss that. If we have plans to go out to eat dinner for a dinner meal, if I'm maintaining that 3 o'clock window, then my window extends beyond 3 o'clock because it's 8 hours. So 8 hours from 10 is later than 3. But I've just noticed through practice that I feel the best when I eat no later than 3. And so I've noticed that I have to sacrifice that or change my window, and that's what I've done. Like if we plan to have a later or more traditional dinner meal, that day I'll make my window start later. Like I'll eat my first meal at noon or something, and then I'll have plenty of time to eat dinner with the rest of the family. And so that's one thing that I've learned with intermittent fasting, that I don't have to do it perfectly, because when you move out of your window, technically for some of the time you're not maintaining your fasting window. You have to kind of stop one to start one and lose the integrity of the fast as you transition from one to the other. And in the beginning, I wanted to maintain it all the time, but since this is more of a lifestyle for me now than a diet, I've learned that, I can shift things and even go a couple of days without doing it at all, which is what I tend to do when we go on vacation. And when I go back to eating 3 meals a day and snacks, or eating without thinking about when I'm putting food in my mouth, which when I eat mindlessly like that, it seems like I eat incessantly. Like I never get a hunger cue because I'm never hungry, because I'm always putting something in my mouth, or I'm eating so frequently that my stomach doesn't get a chance to empty out. And so when I eat that way, I notice that I still experience sluggishness. I notice that I still experience a lot of bloating and gas, and a little bit of brain fog, which is what I hate most of all. I think if there's anything that has made me motivated to stay on top of this way of eating more than anything, is the focus and the clarity that I gain from eating this way. Because it's hard for me with all the responsibilities that I have with homeschooling and with teaching and just running my family, to just operate under that brain fog where you forget appointments, you forget you're walking from one room to the next to do something, and you completely forget what you were on your way to do. That level of brain fog is something that I find to be very disconcerting, and I like to avoid it at all costs. And I notice that by keeping my digestive system where it needs to be, I can avoid that. And so I find that to be very motivating. One thing that I'm still struggling with that I want to overcome is, to just go with the flow and not necessarily to think a whole lot about my weight. Like I'm still like, okay, am I maintaining, I don't want to get too skinny, or I don't want to gain too much too quickly, because I noticed that depending on whether or not I ate something that aggravated my system or not, I might be retaining a lot of water. And so the scale tends to fluctuate. And I no longer want my life to be about the scale. I want to get to a point where, I'm just comfortably where I am. My clothes still fit me the same. Like there's no real reason to be getting on a scale and worrying about a scale. So I still need to get there where I'm like, okay, this is the zone I live in. This is not, something I'm still trying to figure out. And I don't fully think I'm there. And part of it is because there's always a part of me that wants to be like everyone else and wants to do what everyone else is doing and wants to fall on the convenience of, just throwing whatever the kids are eating in my mouth. And I notice that when you're eating like this, if you want to function more optimally. I remember I did one video where I talked about, paying attention to exactly what you're eating and how important that was. And I got comments that, this is a first world problem, and that, someone ate, I can't remember what example the person gave, but I think it was along the line of, I eat chicken nuggets every day and I'm fine, or something like that. Yeah, that works when you're young. I'm not old per se. I'm 46. But as you pass 40, as you get older, you'll find that you're not able to just throw anything in your mouth and function optimally. And in my case, because I have, low iron because of heavy periods, I have to be careful about what I put in my mouth. When I don't eat, when I eat a junk-filled meal, I just don't get the kind of energy that I need to get through my day and to function properly. And so I've noticed that since I'm eating 2 meals, I need to make sure that I'm building 2 good meals. And so I eat a lot of eggs. I eat, I eat wild rice instead of white rice. You do a lot of cauliflower rice. I do all my Caribbean, Indian, Asian style, stews and stir fries and things like that to complement that, so that I still feel like myself. I'm from Haiti, you know what I'm saying? I still feel like myself. And so, but I'm committed to making sure that I get enough greens. One big change that has happened is the way my body is responding to green smoothies. I noticed that I started getting really bloated from having, say, 32 ounces of green smoothie as a meal. And I talked to my herbalist about it, and she talked about how I may be lacking some enzymes to break down the greens, and she encouraged me to steam my greens first and then blend them up. And I've been doing that. But to be honest, what I think is really going on is that I'm so busy that I try to suck down 32 ounces of green smoothie, in like 15 to 20 minutes. And, I'm just bombing my stomach. I'm just bombing my stomach with too much at a time. And so I'm trying to train myself to consume these things more slowly and to be more mindful of what my meal times look like, so that I'm not eating so much on the go, which is really challenging, you guys, because I'm on the go. It's either eat on the go or don't eat. That's basically what my life looks like. And I'm constantly trying to make changes so that I can change that. But if I'm conscious of that, I'm just trying to slow myself down as I eat, so that I can ingest this stuff without causing myself to get gas. You're eating leaves and you're blowing up. No. If I'm going to blow up, I'm going to eat that pizza and blow up. I refuse to blow up when I'm eating greens and fruit. You know what I'm saying? And so there's information out there about the way you combine your foods and the way you ingest your food, so that you could avoid being bloated, and retain all that water. And that's where I am with that. But hands down, I have found, especially on this diet, that the best way for me to get enough greens and that I need is to consume it in a smoothie. It's so much easier than trying to, down massive salads for breakfast and lunch. But the flip side of that is my hair grows like weeds, my nails grow like crazy. So I do know that I'm getting all the nutrients and the vitamins that I need. So that's my update, you guys, with the intermittent fasting. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and if there's anyone else out there that's still finding this to be a helpful lifestyle. Let me know in the comments down below. Be blessed.